BDCDS. I am a client director at MySmile Media. My background really has been in marketing and branding for the past 17 years, and I started my career pretty much at Henry Schein, worked my way through working for Align Technology, Invisalign, and then moving into MySmile. And my entire background has really been based on being in the engine room of those big corporates and running their marketing campaigns and events, and really just being part of all of the ecosystem of marketing and branding for these big corporations. So this talk is going to be co-presented with myself and Sarika, and we're going to be focusing on emotional leadership and emotional marketing and how those things are very much intertwined. Over many generations we've actually had a lot of the practices that are focusing more on clinical, and they're not really focusing too much on actually creating a really safe environment for the team to actually express themselves and actually focus on doing the best they can clinically, but also making sure that they have a safe place to actually come to work and actually express themselves and work together as a team and create this level of cohesion. And I think what's happened is they focus too much on the clinical and they don't create really the right mindset that's in the business, and they can kind of lose sight of what really matters. And it's really important to create that safe space within that ecosystem, because if it's not, then people can't be passionate about what they do, and they can't lead and they can't really do the best they can at work. So this is really looking at how to really look at those points and look at that internal leadership, and really how that then is externalized through the marketing and through the branding. It's great having a great team that have got a great mindset, but actually when you want to externalize that so your potential patients see what's happening outside, you need to actually do that in a very specific way now. You can't just show before and afters and a team picture. People want to see behind the lens, but people just want to see real human people and a community behind that really understand each other, that have each other's backs and really are an extension of your family. You spend so much of your time at work, but when people don't feel they're in a safe space, and when they don't feel listened to and heard, and when the values and the mindset isn't quite right, and the leaders aren't listening and they're not encouraging that behaviour, then things can really start to fall apart quite quickly, and you don't really have a cohesive team. So it's focusing on that, but also then how do we take that and then ensure that your marketing plan and your strategy is actually you're actually living that outside, you're actually showing up on your online magazine, how are you showing up online, and making sure that you're kind of showing your audience exactly what you stand for. And it goes back to your brand and your purpose and your values. And if those things aren't together and they're not intertwined, there isn't that golden thread throughout it all, then you're going to have some gaps. And the consumers that will choose you, they won't be able to see what you really stand for. It's not just about what you do. It's not about how you do it. People want to know why you do it, but that does start with the team and then how that's then vocalized through marketing. We know that consumers today are very driven by how things make them feel, and in terms of their buying decisions. And we know that 70% of purchasing decisions are actually based on an emotional factor or an emotional experience versus an logic. So when we are showcasing what we do within a practice and how we market that, we need to be really mindful of the fact that then the consumers aren't so focused on what you do and how you do it. They want to know why. Most importantly, they want to know the story behind why. And that's such a big factor in today, and then the way you market on your social media channels. And you have to be omnipresent as well throughout. So there isn't just one channel that serves everybody. We've got to know of how we show up on these channels, but then what story are we telling, and how are we going to show what we stand for and our purpose, our values from the practice. If we're not doing that, and we're also not showing it through the lens of founder story, the team, the community that you've built, but also your patients, you're not going to connect with your audience. And I'm a firm believer in they are a consumer first before they become your patient. The issue we have is that most of the marketing that's in our industry at the moment is very patient-led. What we've done, how we've done it, have we done a good job? I would say that's kind of a basic foundation and expected. But what is above and beyond that? What is the story behind how you ended up getting this practice? What's the story behind your team? What's the story behind your patients? Why have they chosen you? What have you given them that no one else has given? And we've got to vocalize that. So if you story tell in a way that is compelling and impactful, authentic and humanizes everybody, you've got a much greater chance of connecting with your audience that are looking based on emotion, not the logic. Everyone on Instagram, on social, will put their before and afters up. Everyone will want to put up as much content as possible because that's what Meta are asking you to do. I need to be fed. It's a beast that's a mouth that's always hungry. It never stops wanting more and more from you. Think of it as picking up a book and you read the first chapter and then there's no other chapters and then you read the end chapter and you're just, okay, well I know the beginning and I know the end, but what on earth has happened in the middle? That's the juicy bit. The life-changing things that the clinicians do and deliver, it can change a person's life forever. What we have to capture is exactly that essence. So we need to get a bit more savvy, be more strategic with our marketing and making sure when we are showing up online, when there is a before and after, or we're leading with that, there is a story behind it that people can connect with. And the issue is at the moment, there isn't too much behind it. There are some that are doing it very well, but most people are just sticking with the real basic. And as a consumer looking in, they really can't connect with you if they can't see the full story. Think of it more creatively, have that creative freedom, and actually ask emotional, psychological questions to your patients to extract what you need from them so you can then put that on your social, and then through that lens they'll see why you are different and that will align to your values and your purpose as a brand. That is the main objective of that. An interesting fact is 95% of buying decisions are actually made subconsciously and they're largely driven by emotion. So it's important to ensure that when you are trying to persuade and influence your target audience or those you want to attract to your business, to your practice, you need to be leading in that fashion. And I know consent can be a really big issue. There are certain questions you can ask that will encourage the patient to open up. And if you've delivered great results and they're happy with those results, there's just a certain way to apply that and to ask to actually get them to sit down in front of you and open up. But the main thing is when you are asking your patient about their journey, try and leave your, how did you find us here? How did we treat you? Did you enjoy your treatment? How do you describe the treatment? Leave all those kind of the what and the how to the end. What you need to do is sit down and the first question you ask that patient when they're finished is, tell me about life before your smile. Totally different to how did we treat you? How did you enjoy your time here? You're straight away going to go into patient mode, which is, yes, they treated me really well here, I had a great time. But if you say, tell me about why you're here and how you got to this point and why are you looking to make this change, or why did you look to make this change in your life? What was going on? Totally different reframe. And that is what you record, that is what you get on camera, and then that is what you then will edit and then put onto social to really show the meaningful impact and the life-changing impact you have on your patient. And obviously those reveal moments are great because that's like lightning in a bottle. If you are not getting those moments, whether it's a full, you have Invisalign case, veneers, it could be just a small chip on a front anterior. I mean, it doesn't matter. These things mean a lot to these people. Well, this is a really different session because myself and Sarika this is lived experience from us. Sarika is living it from her practice and her business that she's running and her team, and I'm living it from a client perspective because this is what I do for our clients. So this is very different because this is outside the echo chamber that are telling you to do this, this and this and everything, and it's kind of maybe the same thing you're hearing over and over again, and what you're going to get is a very fresh perspective. And we are going to be focusing on that psychology, the psychology of the team, the psychology of the consumer. And we're bringing those two things together because they are intertwined. Obviously there's lots of different things you're going to learn, but the truth is you're going to hear something totally different that you've not heard before. And we're going to be focusing on the EQ, not the IQ. People know you've got the IQ. They've known it from a young age, but the EQ, that I think is where the currency is at going forward with the new generation and generally with society going forward. People are more concerned about how you make them feel and what you stand for and what your purposes and your values are, and if you actually are the real deal versus all the credentials that you've got. That's almost secondary because they expect that from this industry. But what about emotional intelligence, and where is that showing up in your practice with your team and then with your marketing, and how to make sure you have that holistic plan together and you're not missing anything.